welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica Foley-Long, and I'm here with Evan Boudreaux, St. Mary Parish Economic Development Director. So good to have you back.
I know. Thank you, Danica. Thanks for having me.
I don't know if this is like maybe your second or third time?
Second time, I believe.
Second time? Well, let's make it good. Let's make it a good one because I am quite excited. Typically, because we're in this COVID pandemic, let's not necessarily focus on that so much right now. Let's go for the highlights.
Absolutely.
We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll get there. But let's talk about the highlights regarding maybe any courting of any new businesses for our area.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, Danica, thanks for bringing that up. This is probably the first time that I can actually kind of really bring it to, I guess, a public light about kind of what opportunities St. Mary Parish has on the horizon. There are really two big employers that we're really working with right now. One of which is a company based out of Texas that is a manufacturer, deals primarily in the oil and gas energy sector. However, not so much with the direct drilling of oil and whatnot, but more so on the equipment and the tools utilized for those offshore oil rigs or the vessels that are actually transporting product back and forth. Okay. They're looking to come and really bring a new presence into St. Mary Parish. Currently, most of our major employers, and this is a big reason as to why they were looking at St. Mary Parish, was a big fraction of their current clientele currently exists in St. Mary Parish. Okay. So it's already a built-in supply chain right there. Two, our location and proximity to the Gulf is just really, in our region, it's pretty unbeatable, not to mention just the level of flood protection that they have. Now, this would look to bring, after their conversation with the state, initially a $14 million investment into Morgan City, St. Mary Parish, and upward of 200 jobs, new full-time jobs to the area.
Come on.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. I use the word courting, but I want you to marry that sister.
Absolutely.
You need to marry her because we have had so many situations where we get our hopes up, like a bomb, right? We get our hopes up. This is the one.
Absolutely.
And then we find out that, so are we really close? I mean, how close is this to coming to fruition?
Absolutely. So the way the process worked that we kind of gotten, I guess, in this point is they utilized a national site selector agency. So across the entire nation, this company was basically looking for locations that met the company's specific parameters. Of that, in Louisiana, it was narrowed down to 3 locations: us, Port Terrebonne, and Port Fourchon. They had a site visit where the CEO and then another member of the senior leadership went and actually visited each place individually. What I can say is through the 3 locations, we were the only site that had both shovel ready as well as an existing facilities that they could really just retrofit. Also, we had more than just one site to show them. Not to mention, like I said before, flood protection, proximity to the Gulf. Plus, clientele that already exists in the area, and from where they're headquartered, the proximity to this new location is the closest they could get.
Right.
So, really, as far as those 3 options go, we really have the most favorable look to them.
We're attractive.
Incredibly attractive.
We're sexy. Let's just call it what it is.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have so much access to rail, water, airplane.
That's another thing, rail.
Yes.
We're the only, out of those 3 areas, we were the only site that had direct rail access for them to utilize.
Okay.
And that's actually, initially when these conversations first started, they were looking at, 80 new jobs with, I think, about an $8 to $10 million investment. Well, between conversations with the state as well as just what we have to offer, the jobs ramped up as well as just their investment into the local community. So right now we're on the right track. Things are looking great to have them. So we're in the final stages of nailing them down.
Well, I like that. Look, if it wasn't COVID, I'd give you a high five, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I said businesses. So that's one.
Yeah,
are there any others that are looking at our area?
Yeah. So the second one, which is one that's it's very interesting. It's a newer kind of industry, so to speak. So this is an energy-related company. However, it's not oil and gas. This is actually dealing with renewable energy. So we're looking at a company that will be, not only manufacturing offshore wind turbines, but also looking to pretty much put it in place a offshore wind farm in the Gulf of Mexico, the first offshore wind farm in the Gulf of Mexico. This investment again, looking at the Port of Morgan City as a location, would have strictly this would be manufacturing of the actual turbines, as well as storing their equipment and whatnot. So this would be 100 new jobs starting, not to mention what kind of growth we could experience from that.
Okay, starting off with 100 jobs.
Yeah, I think
All
this is
right.
kind of the narrative too. St. Mary Parish's history is tightly tied to the energy field with oil and gas. I think we could be the same thing.
And look, we're gonna come back to this because we gotta
Yeah.
take a break because you mentioned wind farm,
Yeah,
an oil and gas industry based
yeah,
parish.
absolutely.
Let's talk about it. Come on back right here on the Voice of the Coast with you. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, my guest is Evan Boudreaux, St. Mary Parish Economic Development Director. Mentioned about this wind farm, renewable energy, coming to St. Mary Parish, particularly where?
So Morgan City is where they're looking to actually base their operations at.
Okay.
As far as specific site within Morgan City, we're still deciding on locations based on what their operations are going to look like.
Okay. So again, this area is, I mean, for a long time, offshore oil industry. I mean, oil is our name, is our game. We have it in a festival, Shrimp and Petroleum. Are we going to be a Shrimp, Petroleum, and Wind Festival?
Right.
I mean, you're talking about something that's a little new. Have you had any backlash on that?
So naturally, I think that just the apprehension with renewable energy, when that's kind of a trigger term, so to speak. I will say, surprisingly, we're not looking to replace oil and gas as an industry. I mean, that's something that's going to be deeply tied to Louisiana and St. Mary Parish, forever. It's part of who we are as a community. But with this company can look to coexist, for one, but two, the jobs, which I kind of look at as the priority of it, the jobs and return on investment to the community. I mean, those jobs are long-term guaranteed jobs where depending on the oil field, those jobs fluctuate. With this, it's a lot more stability for the families that are working here and living here, to where they know where the next paycheck's coming from.
Now, does that require a different skill set, or will they be looking for people with oil and gas industry skills?
For the manufacturing side, it's very, very similar. I mean, you're looking at welding, aluminum welding and whatnot. Those types of skill sets that are very valuable in the oil and gas field, directly transferable to the manufacturing side of offshore wind turbines. So that's exactly who they're looking for. And that's really going to be who they cater to, those workers who have that experience, who have those skill sets, so they can come and work for this company.
Now, I've asked the question about my last son, okay, my other job.
Yeah.
So I got another son. How for sure are you going to be able to nab this sister, this girl, this young lady?
Absolutely. Well, the good thing about this one is they're not looking at other locations at all. So they've set, Morgan City is exactly where they're going to come. We still deciding on where in Morgan City, but this is a for sure thing that it's coming here right now, and really the reason why I can't give more information on it is they're still working out the final details on their incentive package with the state. Once that's finalized, we'll have a lot more publicity behind it. The good thing about this to note too is the 100 jobs that I mentioned earlier that's the baseline. That is the minimum jobs they're going to create. Depending on just how things at a statewide level change from a regulatory framework, we could see that number increase significantly, and not even just on a manufacturing side. We could also see potentially more corporate, office jobs also coming available to bring back those younger college graduates.
Now, I don't want to put too much pressure on you at all because I know you're like, I'm just the messenger.
Right.
But I mean, government moves pretty slowly. About how soon are we looking at? Before the end of the year? Are we looking 2022?
That's a good question. I would say, at the rate things are going, I mean, we started these conversations with the state a few months back, so we've actually kind of made some pretty good headway. And since really it's just the incentive package conversations, best case scenario, I would say December of this year is where we ideally would have an answer, if not early 2022,
Okay.
based on just the incentive talks. But I would say relatively soon since we've been ongoing in this conversation or these conversations for some time now.
You didn't use the word, well, because of COVID. We hear that
Right.
so much. It's like COVID has kind of slowed so much down. Let's talk about COVID
Yeah.
and the impact that it's had on just our local economy.
Absolutely. COVID, I think everyone's just, they're tired of hearing about COVID and they're tired of seeing it on social media and, TV. Every time you turn on the news, it's something about COVID. But what I really want to hit with COVID is with a rural community, small community right now, as to see these rates of infections increase and as they grow, that's a very huge disincentive for companies to want to come and invest in us. I mean, one of the companies that I mentioned, not the wind farm, but the other one, I mean, they made it apparent to me that a big concern for them was the rate of COVID infections that St. Mary Parish has experienced. I mean, to a company that's looking to invest $14 million, it's not too confident for them to send new employees here or even look to hire employees here if you're going to see a shutdown or a lockdown or whatever happen where they can't become profitable. It's a big concern for me, especially when it comes to economic development.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back if we have to continue that conversation. But there's more I definitely want to talk about, so come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I am your host, Danica Foley-Long, and I have Evan Boudreaux, who is St. Mary Parish Economic Development Director. We've talked about COVID impacts and how it's pretty much affected our local economy. And we were talking about these two new businesses that want to come to St. Mary Parish, particularly Morgan City. However, one of those companies says, I don't know. I'm reading a lot of stuff about Louisiana. Also, St. Mary Parish has also made the headlines as well. My dad, who lives in Texas, is sending me articles about Louisiana. I'm like, you got your own problems, Dad. But he knows what's going on in Louisiana. I have a friend who is in the Philippines. The Philippines.
Yeah.
And she is seeing the articles and the news reports about Louisiana having a lack of hospital bed space. I mean, I'm not laughing at that, but the fact that our news here has reached beyond our borders
Absolutely.
in the United States. So tell me, I mean, it's a real big concern.
Absolutely. The best way I can say it is, a healthy community means a healthy economy. Whenever companies are looking to, especially out-of-state companies, when they're looking to relocate, what the first thing they do is they're going to look at news reports of just what's the local community looking like. The news reports that are indicating on St. Mary Parish when it comes to COVID have not been very favorable. If you look at just population and infections, I mean, St. Mary Parish stacks pretty high, especially in comparison to parishes that are over 2 times the population size of ours. I'm not saying that, you should get the vaccine or you shouldn't get the vaccine. That is entirely your choice. But what I really want to urge just the community as a whole is that choice has such a large impact on, not to mention just the business retention and expansion of our existing businesses, business recruitment. It also shows how robust and how successful is our economic recovery going to be. I can tell you that the St. Mary Parish and municipalities are going to get some money from the federal government. I would not be optimistic that another package like that is going to be coming down. So if things get to the point where we see another lockdown coming in, what greatly concerns me is, one, the new businesses that have just opened up, are they going to be able to survive that? 2, the businesses that did survive the last lockdown, are they going to be able to survive a second one?
Another one. I mean, honestly, to hear an economic development director talk about COVID in the way that you are talking about it, it's a little surreal to me because I'm sure you didn't think this would be part of your job duties and responsibilities.
Nowhere close.
To either kind of rally the troops or,
Yeah.
I mean, this is just this is the outcome of where we are right
Absolutely.
now.
And it's funny because anything when it deals with the medical field makes me really queasy.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm even talking about this or this has anything to do with my job is really kind of ironic.
Yeah. Let's go back to something, and I did not get a chance to talk about it, and that was the wind power company you talked about the last segment. We're in hurricane season.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in hurricane season every year around this time.
Right.
Have you guys had that conversation about having these huge wind turbines out in the Gulf where the sea or the Gulf, I mean, it goes very high. I mean, what is the tides get very high. Have we had those conversations with that company?
We have. And, it's funny enough that you mentioned that. Is I like to joke and say, well, as fast as the winds blow with a hurricane, I guess they'll just have a lot more power to just to get rid of. But really, what really kind of drew them to the Gulf was not only because there was no other wind farms there, but the design of the turbine itself. The way the design works is, in putting in layman's terms, is it's essentially hurricane proof. They're designed to where they can adjust based on the speed, based on just the magnitude of the storms. The turbines itself are actually going to be inserted or installed into the floor of the Gulf. So it's going to be not only stabilized, but depending on the need, those turbines can actually be raised or lowered to ensure that there's no toppling over or any damage like that.
Well, they need to diversify and start making homes.
Yeah, hey,
I mean, they need to get into the
exactly.
home construction business here.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, all I'll say is if that's the case, count me in. I'll
Okay.
recruit them here too.
That sounds awesome. Well, we actually take another break. In my last break, I definitely want to talk about the rest of our parish. I want to talk about what's
Absolutely.
going on in the West End.
Yeah.
I will say kudos to you for attracting these other companies, or having a hand in attracting these other companies. That's great. 2 companies, which would bring about 300 jobs, which would be great, which means hopefully more people coming back to the area. But let's talk about the West End and see what's going on that way. Come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to The Voice of the Coast. We have been talking so much. I'm not even sure if this is the last segment. I believe it is, so we're going to make this a good one. One thing about you, right, your job, you are the Economic Development Director. Most people may know your face, but may have never had a conversation with you. And I don't mean this in the bad way, but where's the communication? Is there, I mean, how, if someone has a small business and they're like, I need to stimulate growth, I need to fix up my building, the person to talk to would likely be you. I mean, is that something that you do? I mean, are there grant opportunities on the parish level?
Oh, absolutely. So, Danica, you've really hit a part that I find is just a fundamental issue that not only my office, but just really any kind of government service is having, is the communication aspect. My job, and the way I can be successful in my job, is to really interact and communicate with the public. Currently we have no, not only my office but the parish, we have no apparatus in which we can directly communicate with the public, with the citizens, business owners alike. The biggest thing that I can just kind of advocate is while we're in the process of kind of figuring that out and determining what method can we use to actually reach people, the next best thing is to call my office. We're at the courthouse, 5th floor. Office numbers, you call the courthouse number. My extension is 542.
And I'll give them that number, just so you know. It is 337-828-4100, extension 542, 828-4100, 542 is the extension. But I'm sorry, continue.
No, absolutely. And, especially when it comes to small businesses, there are so many programs, both at the federal level, both the state level, and even in what we're doing is I'm looking to create local incentives that we can not only look to recruit and attract new businesses, but also the businesses that are currently existing in St. Mary Parish. There are programs out there that can really help them not only expand and grow, but give them resources and tools to not only better themselves, but also to just become more efficient, to cut down on that cost overhead. The only way I can do that is through that direct communication with them. I've in the process of really meeting with business owners, but I'm a one-man show, so the best opportunity is to reach out to me, and let's meet face to face. Let's actually let me get to know what is your business, what are your needs, so I can better serve you.
Okay. I actually have 2 more questions in the time that we have. We only have like 2 minutes left. So tell me about any new companies for the West End.
Yeah. So in the West End, I will tell you that Main Street in Franklin is seeing this revitalization that I'm just astounded by. Dr. Wiltz and Miss Diane are just some of the biggest advocates for Franklin. I mean, the 2 new local small businesses that are there not only are a new kind of breath of fresh air for Franklin and the west end of the parish, but also it's bring a new blood, new life into that area.
Yeah. I mean, it's really has opened it up to where it is lots of it makes me want to just go to Franklin and just walk.
Oh, absolutely.
I just want to walk up and down Main Street.
And that's the part where I think it's getting to that point again. where people are investing in their main street, in their community, in Franklin, to where you can go and do that. You can walk through the hallmark town that we have
Yes.
right down the road in
And
St.
people
Mary
like
Parish.
walkability, right? They want to be able
100%.
to walk places, and I think that's great. So
Yeah.
let's stay on this real quick because I only have a minute left. People, you got to pay attention to social media and Facebook particularly. They want big box, and then they want to keep small business. Sometimes that doesn't really coexist in an area like ours. What do you say to those people? I mean,
Just because we're short on time, the best thing I can say is think about that dollar that you give at a local small business. That dollar, over the course of time, magnifies into such a large impact locally that those big box stores do not provide our community. When you spend that dollar at a local mom and pop shop, that dollar is not only buying you school supplies for their families, but that dollar is going to other local businesses and helping that money grow.
and one thing I'd like to say, and I know we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to say it really, really quickly. I think we need something to help folks who want to start businesses. They need a protocol,
Absolutely.
procedure. That's all the time we have. See you guys next time.